Okay, we're back. The concluding part. I'm going to redo it here real quickly without any introductions or anything extra. So you'll just pick up right where we left off if I can remember everything that I was talking about. And I will do my best. The idea was we finished off. Holger in Acts 1 says the cloud came down, covered Jesus, and took him out of their sight. And totally botches it and never says anything about him being lifted up and disappearing into the cloud. And so I was pointing out here in Luke 24 at the end part of it, he led them out as far as Bethany as things of his, and lifting up his hands, he blessed them. And when he blessed them, he parted from them and was carried up into heaven. It doesn't say by a cloud. It says it was carried. He was carried up into heaven. So he was lifted up, carried up into heaven, first of all, and then the cloud received him. Clouds are in the sky, they're not down on the ground. And so the cloud received him. And so clouds do not always mean judgment coming or some other metaphorical idea of something being hidden. Christ literally comes up from the crowd, comes back from the crowd. I'm going to let this kind of play. You're not going to be able to hear anything, of course. But maybe I can figure out what I'm getting at here by letting it go. Because the thing that I was bringing out, the other thing that he was talking about, going to Revelations, and we'll see if that, nope, it doesn't. So it just goes back to here. So, and I don't think anything else happens until we get, oh yeah, near the end down here. And I'll explain here in just a minute where I was at. Revelations 11. Okay, so here's where I was at. We were talking about him appearing, and Jesus appearing, and the scriptures that I used to show that he appeared. And let me see something real quick. Okay, so where I went next was I went back to Sam and William Bell's debate, and was looking through some of these comments and things. And one of the things I saw and I responded to was somebody said, I heard that Sam folded like a cheap suit when Will pressed him on the identity of the great city in Revelations. Apparently, any city at that time can be the great harlot city. Let me press play and hear it for myself. Mr. Kolinger 318. Well, somebody replied 70 AD, 89. Most evangelicals think the great city is the Vatican, which didn't even exist at that time. Well, so you didn't have, but the point of prophecy is you don't have to, the city doesn't have to exist in order for you to prophesy something is going to happen to a city that comes in the future. That's, yeah, or people that's going to exist in the future. You don't need it to exist in order to prove that the prophecy was going to happen. Sam had limited, okay, and I responded back. Sam had limited time and didn't have to deal with every small point made by Bell. But if you read Revelations carefully, the beast and Babylon worked together in one kingdom before Babylon is burnt down. Sorry, Israel was not the kingdom of the beast. Well, William Bell came back and says, how long does it take to read Revelations 11:8? The city was also our Lord was crucified. Further, the zealots played a major role in Jerusalem's fall. Three factions of them, namely, so much to that Romans refrained from intervening while they were engaged in their self-destruction. Sam had some amount of time I did. I couldn't answer all the points due to the same factor. The ones that do get addressed are the ones that count. And I respond back, that's a stretch if I ever heard one. A stretch, then tell us plainly who the harlot was, and you will find the answer in Revelation 17, 18, 24, and 11. And do you see it or do you not? So I was going through scriptures and showing, okay, the Babylon the beast, and I'm going to show you a few things. And the Babylon and the beast, of course, is in Revelation 17. And we'll have to get down to that one. Now, the great prostitute and the beast. The one of the seven angels had seven bowls. King, I showed you the judgment of the great prostitute is seated on many waters. Many waters. Who's seated on many waters. So that's many kingdoms and peoples and stuff, and that cannot be Israel, or especially Jerusalem, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality with her. that's impossible because they had the temple worship there. They weren't worshiping other gods anywhere at all. Um, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on the earth have become drunk. And again, that would be quote unquote Rome because she was the one with the idolatry, immorality of their gods that were all over the place. But he carried me into spirit and wilderness, and I saw a young woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. So this is a kingdom. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold, jewels, pearls, golden cup full of abominations and purities of their sexual morality. So you can't, that's not, they call her a prostitute, but Jerusalem was not a prostitute. She wasn't being punished because she was worshiping other gods or had abominations and impurities going on. They worshipped at the temple. The Pharisees were very strict in that. There was only one God for them. They were not committing adultery with any other God at all. They rejected Jesus the Messiah. That's what they were getting judged for. And on her forehead was written the name of mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of the prostitute of earth's abominations. Of earth's abominations. So they led the whole earth into these abominations. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs for Jesus. Not the blood of the Jews or the saints or anything else. So this prostitute is persecuting, of course, the Christians. And we know Preston likes to use that argument. Well, it was the Jews that were persecuting. Let's be real clear. The majority of the churches in Corinth, Thessalonica, I'm a little bit tired here, but you get the idea of these other churches there. These were not run mostly by Judaizers, for sure. They were kicked out. They weren't going to be part of anything to do with it because they don't want nothing to do with Gentiles. So Gentiles were a major factor and a major part of these churches. So you've got plenty of Gentiles there. And Judaizers could care less what Gentiles were doing. That was not their concern. They weren't concerned with those Christians. They were not going to be persecuted. They would only be going after, of course, the Jews. And the Jews and what they were teaching. In other words, these were people that were zealous for the law of Moses. Moses spoke against the law of Moses, taught against it, and they went after him and those that followed him and after that. So that is what you see all the way through Acts, is them going after Paul and his preaching in the churches that he was trying to start, but coming after him to prevent him from doing it, because they were converting Jews. They could care less about Gentiles. That's just plain common sense. So this mystery woman, the 7 hands you saw, Foundations World, Marvel of the Beast, and it kind of goes on, and it has nothing to do with royal power, has nothing to do with Israel being the beast. They will make war on the Lamb will conquer them, for he's the Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who called him chosen and faithful. He made war on the Lamb, but you saw here that they were drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs. So somehow or another, Jesus conquers them because they were making war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them, for he's Lord of lords and King of kings. So the prostitute you saw is seated on many peoples, multitudes, natures, and languages. That can't be described as 70 AD of the Jews. They were there for the feast. They were not peoples, nations, yes, but they were Jews that were in those other nations. And the beast will hate the prostitute. He turns on her. And they will make her desolate and naked and devour her flesh and burn her up with fire. For God has put it in their hearts to carry out his purpose by being one of mind and handing over their royal power to the beast, until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman that you saw is a great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth. So the idea there is that this beast is working cahoots. Finally, he rises to the point of power that he turns on the beast, this city, and destroys it and takes power and dominion over the kings of the earth without this city. So that cannot be. Nothing in 18 describes Israel, Jerusalem, especially in AD. your delicacy, splendor, you'll be found again. None of that. None of that could be described as Babylon. So let's go back a little bit. And something I was looking at, Revelation 20, the two witnesses. Okay? The two witnesses are, well, let's put it to, okay. I think I'm rethinking now. Remember 17, the beast. I saw the beast rising on a sea, 10 horns. Beast saw, he was like a leopard. His mouth was like a lion. So you're talking about nations working together. It is the dragon gave his power and throne and great authority. One of its heads received a mortal wound. It was healed. They worshipped the dragon. He gave an authority to it. The beast worshipped. Who is like of the beast? Who can? The beast was given a mouth that uttered hot blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. 1,260 some days, right? That's 42 months. Blasphemy. And who did they make war on? The saints, and to conquer them. Not the Jews. Doesn't say anything about the Jews or Jerusalem or Israel. But on the saints. And authority was given over to every tribe and people, language, and nation, and all who dwell on the earth will worship it. Word of life in the book of him, but the saints are the ones who are going to be slain and killed by the beast. It says nothing about Jerusalem and the Jews or anything like that. Now, it says the description there of who that harlot was. And it shows here that it goes on for 42 months. Go back to chapter 11, or 12, excuse me. I saw a great sign appear in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. She was pregnant, was crying out in birth pains and the agony of giving birth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth. So the woman is Israel. So that when she bore her child, he might devour it. So Satan is the one who sought after Jesus. She gave birth to a male child, one who's to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. So this is Jesus. But her child was caught up to God and to his throne. So we're talking about Israel. And the woman, Israel, fled into the wilderness, where she is a place prepared by God in which she is to be nourished for 1,260 days. The beast rules for 1,260 days. But here, the woman, Israel, flees into the wilderness, and she has a place that's prepared by God in which she is to be nourished for 1,260 days. So God is going to protect and care for Israel for 1,260 days. Revelation 11. I was given a measuring rod, right? Leave that out, for it is given to the nation. They will trample the holy city for 42 months, and I will grant them authority to my witness, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Where's this? Their dead bodies will lie in the street. The great city that's called symbolically is called Sodom and Egypt, not the prostitute, not Babylon, but Sodom and Egypt, where the Lord was crucified. So this is where they're at. They get killed. The true promise that dwell with her. But after 3 days, the breath of life God comes into them. They stood on their feet, and great fear fell on all those who saw them. So we're talking about these two who were resurrected. And then I heard a voice saying, "Come on up." Heaven and cloud there means watch them. At that hour there was a great earthquake, and a tenth of the city fell. What city? Jerusalem. 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake, and the rest were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. Okay, get this very quickly. There was, number one, there was no earthquake in Jerusalem and Israel in 70 AD. Jerusalem was not destroyed. There was no 7,000 people killed in the, and the rest of them were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. Think about that. So you have those witnesses and all that were there, all of that go on. Earthquake happens, 7,000 people dead, and the rest were terrified of what they saw and gave glory to the God of heaven. So all the people in 70 AD, right before it was all destroyed, they had an earthquake and they all gave glory to the God of heaven. You see that doesn't fit 70 AD. There's nothing that even comes close to fitting 70 AD. The idea is that I will grant authority to my witness. They will prophesy in Israel, in the city called Sodom and Gomorrah. So we go up here to the next one. Again, Israel fled in the wilderness. She was placed prepared. She is to be nourished for 1,260 days. So she is protected on those for those 4.5 years, 3.5 years. The beast for 42 months is exercising its authority and makes war on the saints. There were no saints in Jerusalem. They fled. So this is them persecuting the saints everywhere else, not in Jerusalem. So now you've got 44 that are there in heaven and enthroned, the harvest of the earth, 7 angels with the 7 plagues across the beast and his kingdom, 7 bowls of wrath, those are on the beast of the king, and 17, the great prostitute and the beast. So finally the beast turns on this nation that he has been working with, and the woman is the one who kills the blood, drunk on the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs. And in 13, 42 months. It was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. And what does it do? It kills the saints. See, that's not Jerusalem. That's not what's going on. That would be Rome that is doing that. So the great prostitute and the beast are working together. And here in 17, they're no longer working together to corrupt the world. The beast has turned on her and killed her, slain her. And the woman you saw is the great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth. Israel, Jerusalem, never had, in 70 AD, dominion over the kings of the earth. That is just ludicrous to even suggest that. So you can see that nothing is as it should be in kind of consistency or coherence between the two. And has avenged the blood of his servants, salvation power. So Christ is the one in 19 who's going to get the vengeance. He comes. And what happens when he comes? He is clothed in a robe dipped in blood. The armies of heaven, arrayed with fine linen, white and pure, were following after. So those are the saints that are coming with him. He's clothed in a robe dipped in blood. The armies of heaven then are arrayed in fine linen. From his mouth strikes, and he will rule them with a rod of iron. That's Jesus. He will tread the winepress of the fury of the wrath. King of kings and Lord of lords. Again, going back, right? So everybody gathers together in Megiddo. That's what Revelation 6 says. There's where the battle takes place. The beast and his kings of the earth with the armies gathered to make war against him who was sitting on the horse and against his army. Against his army. Not Jerusalem. This is an army of saints. See, this just is inconsistent. How do you change these wordings to make it Israel and Jerusalem? The beast was captured. So Nero was captured, and with it the false prophet, whoever that is, had done its signs and deceived those who worked on the market. These two were thrown alive into the lake of fire. See, just nothing fits when you look at the wording. You have to turn it all into symbolism, metaphorical, and then still the concrete behind it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit, people. And that's where I kind of left off this whole idea of what they're trying to get across, and what he's trying to get across. The beast, who was the harlot? It can't be Jerusalem, because you can't look at the details in the wording. They don't do it, and it's pretty embarrassing. All right, guys, that was it, the conclusion, and I will stop the recording there, and you guys can listen and get the full Monty.